Happy Thursday, Weirdos. Welcome back. We're so glad you're here. My name is Mackenzie, and as always, I am joined by...
I'm Chris.
And I'm Sarah.
And this podcast is for Weirdos.
I guess I'll introduce our topic this week.
Okay.
It's a little bit different than the previous 3 episodes that you will listen to. So every 4th episode, it's not going to be one of us presenting a topic to the other 2. It's kind of going to be, there's a couple of different formats that we're going to go with. And this first one that we're going to do is a fireside chat style conversation.
We're lovingly referring to our 4th episodes as 4th episode specials, just because they're going to be a touch different. It's not our normal operation, so a little bit more from all of us rather than a lot from one person.
Right, and this week we kind of wanted to do something easy so we could all give ourselves a little bit of a brain break, just for life reasons. We all, everyone needs a brain break every once in a while. And so we just wanted to kind of sit down and talk about what got us into this kind of field, why are we interested in weirdness, maybe what that initial spark was, any early childhood anecdotes that kind of led to us getting into weird stuff. Maybe we could talk about how the 3 of us together kind of got into
I think that'd be really good, kind of the start of us.
So we just kind of wanted to do that kind of thing, just so that way you guys can learn a little bit more about us too, and maybe kind of where we approach this topic from. Now that you've gotten to hear from all 3 of us, kind of one little topic, we figured let's give you this little something.
Yeah. A little background into who we are.
Yeah.
How we found each other.
So I, kind of like I mentioned in my episode, grew up reading lots of fantasy, lots of adventure style books. But I was always I loved ghost stories. I loved them at campouts. I grew up in a scouting family. Both of my parents, my dad was in the Army. My mom was but they were both scout leaders. So I grew up doing a lot of camping, a lot of outside time. So we did a lot of, ghost stories around the campfire, tall tales, as you do. Started there. And then I vividly remember a book in 4th grade that I 3rd or 4th grade, somewhere in there. Cannot remember the title of it. To Save My Life.
Oh my God.
And it eats at me.
That's tragic.
So this book was about a girl who had some kind of psychic ability, or her mom was a medium of some kind.
Oh, that's neat.
And there was an exhibit at a wax museum. I don't remember if it was
horrifying.
the Madame Tussauds or if it was just a generic. But I do remember that this exhibit had it was about the Titanic, and there was a little boy in this. Anyway, this girl gets psychically teleported to the actual sinking of the Titanic in this ghostly form, and interacts with. Anyway, it's a very, for a 4th grader, the fact that it was in my teacher's library, so it was just very one of those things where I was this is really interesting and stuff like that. And then as I got older and more into I got to start watching my own TV shows and stuff like that, and I wasn't I was still plenty monitored and stuff like that, but as I got to kind of start formulating my own things I like to watch, I really loved. I'm a big Travel Channel girly. Yeah, and I know the 3 of us kind of all are. Love Mysteries at the Museum.
Great.
But when I was about 12, 13, it was kind of peak early Ghost Adventures, that TV show.
That era.
2011 to 2013 era. Right. When I was in high school, it was really kind of that peak. Right. I would say the peak content for that show, in my opinion. If you were to, I personally won't watch anything since probably 2019-ish. Really, since the pandemic, I've moved completely away from watching that as closely. And if I will rewatch it, a lot of times I'll go back to episodes from that era. Older episodes, for a lot of reasons. But I loved that show. And I loved the paranormal investigation. I think with a lot of paranormal investigation, I love the history behind why you're investigating.
Yeah.
Also, everywhere we've ever gone on vacation, I have asked to go on a ghost tour. My parents have
that.
taken me on a ghost tour. They, even though I know it's not their thing.
I was the least spooky parents I've ever met.
You know, it's not
Said
their
with adoration and love.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just
not
that's not
spooky people.
it's not their thing, but it is my thing. And so they have always, when we went to Washington D.C. the first time, we did a ghost tour there. I've done ghost tours in Savannah. I've done ghost tours in a lot of places. My 18th birthday was a ghost tour in Galveston because it was my freshman year of college, and my dad knew that was a big deal thing for me. So, you know, I think I have always been drawn mostly to paranormal investigation. I think some level of cryptid, in that I loved fantasy books. So like the thought of these animals that may or may, or creatures, you know, that may or may not exist really like spoke to me in some ways. But I would say it wasn't until college that I really started exploring kind of the folkloric aspect of some of that history.
Yeah.
I started college as a marine biologist. I wanted the same job that I ended up getting a degree for. I just didn't know that it was a path that I could go down.
Right.
So that was when I was in high school. It was that I wanted to work in a zoo or a national park doing, you know, education and interpretation, which is the same thing I got a degree in. But after my freshman year, I changed majors to maritime studies. Which is how I met the two of you. But what I would say is that because we were taking classes, Kristen, who I just...
Hi, Kristen.
We love you.
Hi, Kristen.
So much.
We love you.
Kristen is a person that without y'all and her, I would never have graduated college.
Correct.
For more than one
Said
reason.
with aggression, but also love.
I would never have graduated college. I certainly would not have found the same level of passion that I have for what I got a degree in without Kristen. And I think from just like a student support aspect, she was there for me every step of the way.
Yeah.
And has become truly a wonderful friend.
Right.
It's like, yes, obviously our relationship started as professor student, but she's just one of my friends, and she is a spooky
and
lady. spooky lady,
so spooky.
and I love her so much. Anyway, because of her folklore class, because of the way she approaches her history, and then because she's a spooky lady and she's willing to talk about. I mean, she let us play with dowsing rods in her office. And
she let us take the dowsing rods out of her purse.
Yeah, she goes, you want my dowsing rods? And we're like, yeah. And she goes, they're in there. And she'll go get them. And I'm like, great.
Yeah, just casually walking around with some like dowsing rods.
In her purse.
And you know, the she running
has purse.
She has
dowsing rods.
She has Nun Ghost. No, she has Michael.
I have Nun Ghost.
No, his name is Sean.
I thought his name was Michael.
Sean.
Oh, she might have two. One of them was
Michael.
Who's Mike? No, she has Michael. Text Kristen.
We're gonna fact check this.
Anyway,
I'm almost certain his name is Sean.
She might have had two because
Sean is the little boat boy.
Anyway, she was also always open to talking about the weird. You know, we went to museums as part of a lot of our classes. We would go on field trips. And she was just willing to talk about odd shit. I loved that. I think it allowed me to be more open, and then getting to know you guys and being like, oh, I'm not weird for liking these things.
Oh, no, you are.
I mean,
I mean, we all are.
Thing. But in a, I didn't know other people openly, because it wasn't something like openly talked about, because it just wasn't how I was raised, which is fine. So getting to open up about it, and then the loving formation of the trio of us, the Boo Crew. So yeah, I really, you know, you guys opened my eyes to a lot of other research, and then at the start of the pandemic, Christopher and I were both still living on campus, and we were one of the few handful of students that really stayed for a while.
It is in fact Sean. You were right.
You know how I know?
It's Sean Schickel. Sounds like pickle is what she said for his last name.
Because Sean comes and hangs out with me sometimes.
Oh, who is Michael?
Who has a Michael?
Somebody at school has a Michael.
Right.
Distinctly. Because I vividly remember Michael coming to visit more than once.
Anyway,
I was like, I know Sean.
Anyway, so Chris introduced me to Hellier in it was actually the season 2 premiere of Hellier when we first got into it, or they were getting ready to drop season 2.
Yeah.
And I
didn't get into it until season 2 had dropped, and you'd watched it before I did. So you watched it before season 2 dropped, and then you were like, you have to watch this. And then I watched
because
it after
I
season 2
binged
dropped.
it. I was having a lot of, because I was, after Chris had introduced me to it, we were then, as things progressed, because we lived in different buildings, we were no longer allowed to
see each other
because we weren't allowed to go between buildings. It was a whole thing. Anyway, I got very lonely, and I was struggling in other ways with moving to a fully online schedule and still trying to work and doing all of these things like a lot of people did. So I started really binging Hellier, and then Kristen, one of the shows she had us watch was Warehouse 13, which is an old sci-fi show. Fantastic show if you haven't watched it. But because it goes into a lot of other folkloric kind of stuff as well, it just kept opening my eyes to stuff, and I just kept getting more and more like this is the kind of stuff that I'm really like I do have a passion for and I'm really into.
I love that.
Obviously I do still have a deep tie to paranormal investigation. Like I think that's the investigation stuff that we do I really love. And I'm just, but without you guys, I don't think I wouldn't have developed this passion as much, and I don't think I would be willing to be as open about it. But you guys are some of my...
Are we your best friends?
I mean, you are my best
friends.
We're
best friends.
But I would say you're some of my... I have a different... you have different best friends for different parts of your life.
Right.
I have that... I have the group of girls that I spent a lot of time in college with that were my bridesmaids and different things like that. But the two of you let me just go with different things. We do this, but we have been doing the non-recorded version of this for years.
Yeah.
And
right. Like every time Mackenzie gets in my vehicle and we drive any amount of distance, we talk about weird shit, but also specifically religion.
Yeah.
Like every time she's in my vehicle
for more than 20 minutes.
For more than 20 minutes. It's like, oh, time to talk about the Lord.
Unintentionally,
but like
completely.
Never on purpose.
Yeah, and it's not like we're talking about the Lord. It is we're talking about like the weird way that we believe things.
Yeah, or we're going to talk about like deconstructing our own faiths or what we believe in and that kind of stuff. And it's always super duper interesting when we have those conversations. And I love that because I don't really have those with other people.
Christopher and I have known each other for 7 years. The picture from Salt Camp just popped up on my Facebook memories from 2017.
Oh my gosh, you guys are at the mark.
We're at the mark. We're stuck together forever.
I'm not there yet. I didn't meet
you
either
get 2 more years.
2019.
You get 2 more years. We're going to make it. Don't worry.
No,
we're going to make
it. Kristen said, I said, thank you very much. And she said, of course. And then she sent in another message because she realized it would be funny. Of corpse.
But no, I mean, Christopher and I have been friends for 7 years. And we didn't start, like, we weren't, like, friends. But it was more like mentorship originally. And then I adopted Sarah. Is how we became friends, but I'll let her tell that story.
I'll let that be kind of the segue into me talking, unless you want to go next, Chris.
Yeah, we can let that be the segue for you.
So mine's going to start kind of at the end and then go back to the beginning. Because I'm going to talk about how I met these two idiots, whom I love dearly.
I love you so much.
We are idiots.
I started college in 2013, which was when I graduated high school. I started college my freshman year, fall of 2013, and then I went through 2017, which is when I should have graduated. Had to take some time off after my 2017 school year because school's hard.
School's really hard.
Took a year and a bit off and came back in January of 2019. Now, that semester, in my little head, I had 2 semesters left. I went, I will not be making any friends. All of these people are children. Like, they're all so much younger than me, which is hilarious because I was only like 3 years older than the people around me. Because most of my classes I was taking were upper level classes. So it's not like I was with freshmen for most of my classes.
Right.
I did have to take a single freshman level class or 2 freshman level classes. One of them was a freshman level English class, so most of the people in it weren't freshmen. And then the other one was a intro to bio class, so it was like a 200 kid class. So it didn't matter that I was like older in that class.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in my 9 a.m. Class that is with one of our professors, Dr. DiGiorgio. Dr. D.
The tiniest,
and
scariest
I love
lady
her
I ever
so
met in my
much.
life.
I tend to either sit close like at the very front or close to the front.
I'm also a front row sitter.
I cannot sit behind other people who have laptops because I have ADHD, and I will see what they're doing and then be like, they're watching Netflix. Now I too am watching Netflix and not paying attention.
And I'm also a handwriting note taker.
Right. I also am a handwriting note taker. And so I'm sitting in the second row. There's nobody in front of, like directly in front of me because I'm up against the wall. And the seat in front of me, if you were sitting there, you'd be directly behind the computer.
Yeah.
Nobody sat there.
Oh, I know what classroom you're.
And it's like 8:55 for
yeah,
this 9 o'clock class.
Yeah.
And no one is there.
Completely.
Except for me and this child in front of me who I have no idea who she is. So I'm early. I'm sitting there. I'm on my phone. Mackenzie, who I did not know at this point, we're like 3 weeks into this class.
Yeah,
like
and we had other classes together as well that semester.
Right. We had other classes together, but this was the only one where like we were ever both there early because it was first thing in the morning. The other ones were kind of midday. Mackenzie whips around in her chair and goes, "Did we miss an email?"
I was really worried we had missed something.
And I went, "I don't know, let me check Howdy." And so I like pull up my A&M email and I go, "I don't see anything." And then right after that interchange, Dr. D walks in and is like, "Where is everybody?"
And we were like, "Oh, thank God."
We were like, okay, then at least the teacher's here. And then from that moment on, I could not get rid of her.
I would turn around and talk to her every day.
It's like she had broken a seal, and
then
we
because we were in other classes, I was like, "Oh, good, this is open for all of my classes."
And it was fine. I'm fine to make friends. I just hadn't planned on making any friends when I came back to school. And that's not to say that I don't love you. I love you very much. And then the other idiot who's in this room with me, whom I love very much, we had an English class together.
Yep.
And I sat in the front row of that class.
You did.
Because I liked annoying that teacher.
Yeah.
I had had
he's
him.
good at. He's so good.
I had had him before, sort of.
Yeah.
I took a class.
I had taken a class not with you two, but with this professor.
Right. So I had taken a class with this professor before, and I had to drop it because it was during my bad semester.
Yeah.
And so I kind of knew how to push his buttons from that, but I knew he probably also wouldn't remember me.
Yeah.
Because I'd had to drop it, and it had been a year and a half. And this is a freshman level English course. Like, It's not anything crazy. It's just English. And I just remember it was me and another girl who I became friends with, sort of, Maddie. Sat in the...
I love her.
Yeah, sat in the front row. The girl who I sat next to, we, like, became friends because we also had another class together.
Right.
The previous semester.
Uh-huh.
And so we were like, I'm gonna sit with her. And then this weirdo sat behind me. And then did you just follow me to the cafeteria one day?
I think I sat like two.
You sat right behind me.
No, I did not.
I thought you were the row behind me.
I think I think there was a gap row, and then it was my row, and it was me and Marissa.
I thought you and Marissa sat right behind me.
I don't think so. I think there was a gap row where nobody sat.
I'll believe you.
Because you two were like up in.
We were in the business.
in the professor's business.
We were right up there. We were right up in front of him.
And
bullied him hard.
Yeah, and everybody else was like, that's maybe a little close. And so we all skipped a row and then started filling in the rest of the classroom.
My favorite thing to do in that class was every time he swore, because he told us, I don't care about swearing, obviously. He told us at the beginning of the semester he was trying to swear less.
Yeah.
And so
Batman, whatever.
Every time he swore, I made a tally in the front of my notebook. And because I sat in the front, he saw me doing that. And he went, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "You said you were going to try and swear less. So every time you swear, I'm going to make a tally mark." I think he swore, like, over the course of the, 14-week semester, it was something like 38 times. Like, it was at least once a class.
Incredible.
He dropped a big bad swear word. Like, I didn't count, like, craps and dams. It was, like, shits and fucks.
Yeah.
I was counting. And we also bullied him for not knowing about Harry Potter. The whole class bullied him for that. But, yeah, I don't know how you... Like, I went to lunch with Kristen... And I think you started coming to that.
So, okay.
Because we would get out of class with Kristen because we were in class, and we would go.
You and I were in that class.
Yeah. So we would all go and retrieve Haney.
Oh.
And we would
go to the cafeteria.
We would wrangle the lunch crew and go to the cafeteria.
Committee.
Yeah.
But hold on, because my remembrance of meeting you is a little bit different.
Okay.
Because I definitely met you in that class.
Oh, shit. We met at the boat.
We did. We met again at the boat.
No, I met you before that at the boat.
I don't think so. It was the same semester.
You did not take the Alyssa class that semester.
Are you sure?
It was after you took the Alyssa class. After Sarah graduated.
You took the he took the Alyssa class before I graduated.
Yes.
Before I came back.
Oh.
I was not in school when I did that tour for you.
Okay. Well,
I was not in school when I did that.
No, that was fall.
I can double check.
It was fall 2019. No, not 2019.
No,
it was because I went to the hospital that day after the illicit tour.
Then it was the same. That was the same semester then.
Yeah.
Because that was the semester that you were sick. 2019. Fall of 2019.
Because I was like, I'm pretty sure it was at the same time.
Because that was the semester I was not in school.
I'm going to double check because I gave you my phone number in that tour. Like, that's the only reason that you...
No, it was not during the tour. It was after the tour. I chased you down after that class that we had together.
Great.
And I was like, hi, I really want to do Alyssa things because I think it's really cool. And you did the tour and you said that we could talk to you about it. Can I get your number?
When did I text you last?
We
forever ago.
Probably Gerpy.
Probably not as long ago as I had scrolled.
Gerpy, because we made a group text for Gerpy.
No, I know, but like just him.
Those texts are gone from my phone.
I may have to search you.
No, I think we've maybe texted each other all of like 2 times. We communicate on Snapchat.
Tuesday, October 8th, 2019. We're coming up on the anniversary of us like
having each other's phone numbers.
Of me giving you my phone number. So I got Chris's phone number and then I texted him, "This is Sarah, Tuesday, October 8th, 2019. He did not communicate again to me via text message until Friday, April 17th, 2020.
Yeah, but
when I was trying to get in on a meeting, like a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I was like, it was probably one of our folklores.
It was one of the folklores, or when you would hang out with us in Kristen's online classes during COVID,
right?
Or whenever we were doing
Hunt a Killer
boxes,
our digital Hunt a Killer group,
right? So
that we used a classroom Zoom for.
That's my like meeting of these two shenanigans. Then I'm gonna go back in time.
Yeah,
to to my origin story. I just say that I've always been weird because, as far as I'm concerned, that is the truth.
Let's be clear. We're all always weird.
No, I know, but like pinpointing like what the the first thing was for me is hard. And it's like, I know my favorite books as a little kid were the Goosebumps books, and I just verified with my mother that apparently she would read them to me
before
as a
you
child,
could read.
Before I could read. I'm gonna say that that's where it started. And then I know my like exposure to the stuff on TV was me and my dad. Rare dad mention.
Dad lore, whoa.
Used to watch the show Fear Factor together.
That show gave me the heebies. I struggled with Fear Factor.
Right. So it's like it's not a weird show. It's not like a spooky show. It's like just putting people in
scary situations
with hissing cockroaches.
Yeah.
Right. Making them eat bugs and shit. And like but the show that came on after that was Ghost Hunters. And so he would put that on, we would watch it together, and then he'd go do something else, and then I'd be like, I'm doing Ghost Hunters. And so I would watch the original Ghost Hunters show with the Atlantic Paranormal Society, watching Jay and Grant, who were plumbers, like, these are guys who like have real jobs who also do this because they want to help people.
Yeah.
And the thing that I really liked about that show as a kid was it wasn't just, we're going to show you the spooky adventures that we have. Each episode starts with like, here's what's going on at this place that's making them uncomfortable, and then at the end they would show any evidence or lack of evidence that they found to the owners of the property and be like, here's what we found. We didn't have anything super dangerous happen. We think that you're pretty safe, blah, 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 blah. Like they would explain it to them. And if they had stuff happen, they'd be like, hey, we had this happen. It happened under these circumstances. We couldn't recreate it, yada, yada. And I really liked that because it felt very genuine.
Yeah.
And not like staged for TV. So then I didn't realize that it was weird to like that kind of TV show. And I also was like super into aliens at this point. As a child of the 90s, I somehow, and being who I am as a person, somehow did not watch X-Files until I was in high school.
Yeah.
Actually, just kidding. I didn't watch X-Files until I was in college because we didn't have Netflix.
I didn't either.
Yeah, but I'm like
You're the alien child.
I'm the alien child. I should have been watching X-Files. You can't see half of the stickers on my laptop are X-Files stickers.
Yeah.
But I was huge into aliens, and I loved aliens, and I just so desperately wanted to be abducted by aliens when I was a child. Not because I wanted to leave. I just wanted to know what would happen. I loved my family, loved my house, wanted to be abducted. Because my grandma also, like, may she rest in peace, was always super duper, like, chill with me being weird. Like, she watched Doctor Who, she watched Star Trek. Like, she was
she's into the weird stuff.
She was an alien girly. Like, she liked sci-fi. And so she bought me Goosebumps books, and she would buy me, like, Scary Stories books, and she would buy me, campfire stories, ghost stories, whatever. And then she got me a book that was, like some kids have like eyewitness volcanoes or whatever. Or like the big book of horses or the big book of dogs. I had the big book of UFOs, and it was just a bunch of different kinds of UFOs. I wish we still had it. We don't. It's gone with the ages. My grandma got that for me, and so that was like, I didn't realize that it was odd to be interested in that kind of stuff until I moved schools, because we lived in Corpus Christi and then we moved to Waco. And when we moved, I went from being in a private school where I had 20 people in my grade to being in a public school where I had 25 people in my classroom.
Yeah.
And I weirdly did not have a hard time making friends because I was new. And so everybody was like, ooh, new kid. And so they all wanted to be my friend. And then I made it through 4th grade and I was fine. And then 5th grade, I was like, I want to start a UFO club. And so I made T-shirts for me and all my friends and brought them to school. I want you to know, it was the early 2000s. I made these with puffy paint on white shirts that I got from Hobby Lobby.
I adore you.
I hand drew aliens on the front of these shirts that were doing a little peace sign. And then on the back wrote China Spring UFO Club, because that was my school.
I adore you.
I desperately want to recreate this.
Okay, we can. They just can't be white.
No, I'm not wearing a white shirt.
White. I was like 8, so or not 8.
Right,
like
and that's
10.
that's the easy shirt to have access to.
Right. So, but yeah, so I made them and I brought them to school for one of my friends who I will not mention. There's no way she listens to this podcast.
But still.
But on the off chance she does, I don't want to out her as the person who first made me realize that this was an odd thing to be into. And I offered her the shirt and she goes, "That's weird." And I went, like my whole worldview came crashing down around me. I was like, wait, what? This is weird. No, this is just this is the thing that everybody likes, right? Like ghosts and aliens and the Loch Ness Monster. That's what everybody likes. What do you mean this is weird? My grandma told me this is normal. She buys me Goosebumps books. And she was like, that's weird. I don't want to be in a UFO club. And I like had to sadly take all my T-shirts home that I made for like me and 2 other friends.
That story is
so
never
sad.
It's never not going to be devastating to
I
me.
know.
Every time you tell it, it's
so
so upsetting.
Sad.
And what I love about that story is at no point did my mom go, "Did you ask them if they want to be in a UFO club?" And I went, "No, I'm just like that conversation never happened." So I didn't have the opportunity to go, "No, we're doing it." I didn't have
for your mom to be like, maybe
you should ask if they want this
maybe
before you do
ask
this.
ahead of time.
Before you do this to them, maybe you should ask. So yeah, that was my like UFO club. And then I watched all the ghost shows, all that kind of stuff. I had knee surgery in high school, and I watched the only thing that I would watch was the Sci-Fi Channel like weird ghost shows and Travel Channel like weird ghost shows. For the duration of while I had to have, and I was home by myself because my mom had to work and my brother was in college. So I was like home alone, just sitting on the couch, couldn't move.
Yep.
On the couch,
trapped
TV, trapped there watching TV. And I at one point lost the remote, and so I was like, well, I guess I'm watching this all day. And this was like Ghost Hunters reruns, and I was like, oh my god, my childhood. So yeah, like that, it's always been there. I've always had like a collection of spooky books, ghost stories. Everyone knows that anywhere that I go, I want to buy a ghost stories book.
Yeah.
I'm still
And
upset.
you had a ghost as a kid.
Oh, I did have a ghost as a kid.
Oh, that was a good story.
I will tell that. Do I want to save? I'm going to save that for when we do a ghost stories
Yeah,
episode.
we don't, but I'm just saying you also had a ghost as a kid.
That me and my neighbor kid were friends with.
Yeah.
He lived in our backyards. We'll talk about that when we do another one of these where we just talk about ghost stories. But this is kind of like an origins episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Boo Crew, the origins.
Boo Crew origin story. So then, I went to college. My first couple years of college were fine. My freshman year of college is actually the first time I watched the TV show Supernatural with my college roommate. Like we embarked on that journey together because she'd also never seen it.
Yeah.
And so that was really fun, and that was a bond. Like we were friends, and so that really like kind of like glued us together. It's like, oh, we watched this together for the first time and got real fucked up and sad.
I watched the entire first season of Supernatural. I must have been in high school, in the dark.
Oh yeah, we did that.
By my lights off, middle of the night, on my laptop in my bed, and I was
did at least have it connected to a TV.
Nope, I was just terrified.
But so that like bonded me and her together, and that was another thing of like, oh, this is like urban legends and that kind of stuff, and I was like, oh, this is the shit that I'm into.
Yeah.
And then I watched X-Files when also X-Files was a knee surgery discovery. And then when I had my second knee surgery after college was when I watched X-Files. Where I was like, well, I can't move or
Find
drive
something.
because that was my right knee, so I couldn't drive even. So I was like, time to watch all of X-Files. And then I went to college, met these two hooligans. I met Kristen before they did because
you were at school first.
I was there earlier than them, and I had 2 classes with Kristen. And then I went, I'm quitting school for a while. I'll be back eventually. And she was like, I'm not making you promise to come back, but I am going to make you promise to keep in touch. And I was like, hell yeah, I love that. But yeah, so that's like that. Then we hung out. Then we did like a little mini ghost hunt in Kristen's office with the dowsing rods, where we met a nun who apparently likes to follow me around. Still unclear if she lives in Kristen's office or if she's attached to me. We haven't done any further exploration.
We've
of that.
not encountered her more, so I'm inclined to think that she lives in Kristen's office.
We know we encountered her.
Did y'all?
Yes. Remember
when
it was on? We were still on campus, but it was.
Well, maybe she just lives on campus.
Maybe we need to just get some dowsing rods. Maybe it's that she only likes the dowsing rods as ways to communicate with her.
Yeah.
All I know is that one was explicitly not attached to me, not mine. All Sarah.
Yeah,
it was very clear.
Talking when I left the room to go get water, and then
I was like, we were like trying.
I was there.
I know you were.
Yeah, you were there.
So anyway, that was fun. And then I became friends with these two hooligans, and then I graduated, and then COVID happened. And then I was like, I'm never going to see my friends again.
Except that's not true because we were doing digital hunt to killer boxes.
Then we hung out all the time.
And I needed body doubles to graduate from college.
Right. And then Chris was like, hey, you guys watch the show. Actually, I think you told just her about it first. Maybe you told both of us.
It was Hellier. It was me first because you were seeing me.
Yeah.
We were going to know because we joined. The museum was doing, it was before they were like locked down on memberships, and they were doing a public event for the viewing for the Hunt for Cherry Wrist. It was a live show that we were watching.
Right. Well, because y'all got to do some cool shit early on.
I didn't
get to do.
I did not become a museum member until COVID started.
But somebody had it because you and I watched a live stream together.
Yes.
I think it was you.
I had it.
And then I got a museum membership afterwards.
But it was during COVID. It was right before they were like, y'all can't go to each other's
dorms
anymore.
I snuck Chris up to my room and we used to sit on my bed for hours.
Yeah, I know, because I used to get videos and be there and be like, I can't hang out with you because I can't come visit because there's a virus. There's a plague.
There's a plague.
But then he recommended y'all watched Hellier, and then
we went. You have to watch Hellier.
You have to watch this.
And I thankfully didn't get on that boat until the second season was already out.
But we were only on the boat for a couple of weeks before the second season dropped. It was only
but I didn't have to wait.
Oh yeah,
I could just binge it all, which was great, and I really enjoyed it, and that really kind of changed how I look at everything because I very much was looking at everything as like, oh, these are all distinct things. Like ghosts are this, aliens are this, cryptids are this.
Yeah.
Like, and now because of Hellier, I'm like, maybe not. Maybe there's a blur. Maybe they're all one thing. Maybe they're all many things. So that's kind of my origin story. Hey Chris,
why are you weird?
Oh boy, it's a can of worms. So, I grew up Catholic.
Step one.
That's where we're starting.
Step one, be Catholic.
Step one, I grew up Catholic. So a lot of my journey through the weirdness, through the early stages, was very much fear-based.
It's the demons.
Yeah.
I'm scared of the ghosts and the demons.
Very, very much so.
Did you like my song?
That was so cute. That's so good.
But no, I remember very distinctly that my mom loved Long Island Medium. She was obsessed with it. That and she liked Ghost Hunters.
It's a good show.
It's a great show. But I had just gotten to the age in like middle school where she deemed it was now appropriate for me to be able to watch these shows with her. During the daytime, not around my sibling, who is a younger sibling. Yeah. So it was just like me and her. And
fun mother-child experience.
Very fun, especially when her like 12-year-old child turns around and is like, Mom, I'm worried about your soul watching these shows. These people are talking to demons.
I'm sorry.
Christopher is formerly Catholic, which makes this even funnier.
This is very funny.
Oh my God. Mommy,
your soul is in danger watching these shows.
Your soul is in danger.
I was frightened for her
That is
And like
so
there was a time that
funny.
I stopped watching the shows with her because I was like, I'm
worried for my soul.
scared. But like I grew up a very scared child. I used to like, I don't remember what age I was, maybe like 5 or 6. I had been watching Scooby-Doo, and I had a nightmare
I love
about
Scooby-Doo.
I had a nightmare about Scooby-Doo.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was no longer allowed to watch Scooby-Doo anymore.
No, I get that. I had that with Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to watch
You
Courage,
have
so then I
one
got
you have
scared.
one bad nightmare.
Yeah. No,
That's the end of
I
it.
got scared of it on TV. I didn't
Oh,
even have
wow.
a nightmare about it. I was like, this is scary. And Mom went, and that is now on the banned list.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed watching Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
But I had one bad nightmare, and my parents were like, nope, you can't watch that anymore. And I was like, gosh, darn it. Throughout my whole life, I've seen ghosts. I've seen things, shadow
Yeah.
people, whatever.
Right.
One of my earliest memories is me being 3 years old before my sibling was born,
Mm-hmm.
when I think my mom was pregnant with my sibling. And I remember very clearly being in my room before the baby had arrived. So it was still my room and not the baby's room. It was early in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and I had woken up, and I looked in my doorway, and my mom was there. And my mom came over to me. And as she got closer, she was kind of transparent and very spooky.
What?
She was wrong the closer she got to me. And so I started screaming.
Yeah. As
And
a 3-year-old should when they see the other mother.
when they see the other mother. And then my
I refuse
actual
to
mom
watch
showed up,
Frontline.
and I don't know what happened to the other mother.
Nope.
I hate that.
I hate that.
That's
So
so scary.
it's so scary. And like that is one of my first memories. But like that transitions on to once we had moved away from that house, in the new house, I started seeing shadow figures that were climbing around in the hallway on the ceiling and would look into my room from the like doorway. Would never enter my room, but like definitely reinforced the idea
can't
that
take
so
you.
like fear was a big big driving force of like the weird in my life for a really long time.
yeah.
But while like in middle school, I was worried about my mom's soul for watching Ghost Hunters and Long Island Medium.
Oh, the fakest Medium show.
Incredible.
But also,
But so funny.
God, that's so funny that you're like, Mother, your soul.
Mom, your soul.
What will they think
I
in
can't-
heaven?
I can't wait for her to listen to this
I know,
episode and
she's
to
such a-
call me and be like,
she's such a.
I
she's
don't
such a
remember that happening. And
follower.
I will, my mom, number one fan. She's our number one fan.
Hi,
Hi, Jonna.
Hi, Jonna.
hi, Jonna.
Hi, Mom.
I love Jonna.
Shout out, Jonna.
Have
there would be
you
no
have you
Chris.
met
Yeah.
Jonna?
Yes, I've met your mom
Maybe?
briefly.
I
waved at
have.
your mom from the Alyssa.
I
Yeah.
ghost hunted with Christopher
When you were
Yes.
on the boat.
and
you
Christopher's
did.
mother.
I did take Mackenzie and Harrison and my mom on a ghost hunt at a place that I previously worked.
Right.
And you could not because you were at work.
Yeah,
Yep.
you had a thing.
I had
The same
my
thing.
ghost tour
You had your ghost tour, yeah, that you were running. And so
at my place that I previously worked.
yeah. But so at the same time of me being in middle school and like being worried about
Your mama's
ghosts, yeah, my mama's soul, I also started having access to the internet for the first time because
Aha.
I purchased an iPod Touch because I found $100 bill in a water park.
Oh, nice.
Like it brushed up against my leg, and I was like, "Oh, that's probably a leaf." I reached down, and I was like, "That's $100."
That's like peak that era because so many people don't carry cash anymore.
Right?
That's not gonna happen. No kid's gonna have the joy of having $100 bill wash up to them at a water park
Just-
ever
Yeah.
again.
No.
Horribly disappointing, really.
That's so funny though.
It's so funny. I was like,
that's
"Oh my god,
$100.
$100!" And then I went to my dad, and I was like, "Can you hold on to this? Don't lose it."
This is mine now.
And so then, with that money, I bought an iPod Touch. Like with that, and then like some extra savings that I had from my
Right.
chores, I then had access to the internet and to YouTube for the first time.
The YouTube.
And so I frequently would go on YouTube rabbit holes about Area 51.
Another a favorite of mine.
It's so good.
That's gonna be a whole.
That's gonna be a multiple part episode when we
That
cover that.
I feel like maybe we should do Area 51 as fireside chats.
It's going to have to lead into a fireside chat.
I think we all want to talk about Area 51.
No, that's you two.
Okay, the two of us want to talk about Area 51 so badly that maybe we do...
You could do a joint episode.
A joint episode, or we do 2 episodes and we both do it.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I just have so many books.
Yeah. You definitely know way more than me because I definitely go through phases of like I'm interested in this right now.
Yeah.
And that was that era
I didn't even
for
talk
me.
about the Bermuda Triangle in my bit. Anyway, keep
but like so Area 51.
You can wait till the episode that you do on it.
It's fine.
Area 51, aliens. What is the thing?
Encounters?
No, they talk about it. They're like government confirm or deny there are aliens.
Oh, disclosure?
Yeah. A very much disclosure like content and like people who are like I used to work at Area 51 and like all sorts of different videos and like this and that and the other. And so like I would find a really interesting video and then I'd like toddle out to my parents at like 12 and be like, look at this. Look at what I found.
Look what I've discovered.
Look what I've discovered. I've made a discovery on YouTube.
Me personally discovered this.
And like I spent a lot of time on Google Maps like looking at Area 51 because that's the kind of person I was at that time.
You and Glenn Campbell.
Yeah.
Besties.
Yeah.
Rest
We
in peace,
really
Glenn
would have.
Campbell.
But then that eventually led into like Illuminati.
Mm-hmm.
Like Illuminati and unfortunately like lizard people.
Yeah.
Like conspiracy theorism.
The conspiracy theories that you fall down when you get into that habit.
Right.
Like that area.
And so like I definitely watched a bunch of like super cuts of like politicians like blinking and like their eyes would turn reptilian and I was like, oh my God, this is so scary.
Or it's like, oh my God, did you see the way his hand moved? Robot.
Yeah. And so like I saw also, hi Mom, welcome to knowing.
Chris is outing.
I'm outing myself. It's okay. But so I think
the statute of limitations on being able to get in trouble for that has long since passed.
Oh, it's long since passed. It's fine. There was something the other day that like I turned to my mom and I was like, I think the statute of limitations is up. I once did this thing and I didn't tell you about it. And it's kind of funny. And she was like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Mom gets to start learning new things about me that I didn't tell her at the time because I would have gotten in trouble. But
From
now
the podcast.
Yeah. Hi Mom.
That's what the podcast's for.
But I think in high school, whenever I started watching Doctor Who and Supernatural, is the point at which it turned from fear to curiosity. But so like I started in high school, especially later in high school, really interrogating my faith because at that time I was also coming to terms with like being queer and like what that meant
for you,
for me, and like my belief in like the world around me, and like what does this mean in the greater context of everything. And so at that point I really started to interrogate a lot of the beliefs that I held that came from Catholicism.
Right.
And so at that point I started getting a little more loosey-goosey with like I think maybe some of this was wrong. I think there's a lot of fear-mongering that's happening.
Yeah.
And so at that point I start relaxing into like, you know, maybe this stuff isn't actually scary, it's just different. But Hellier I think was still a really big part of my shift into like actual comfort with the weirdness.
Yeah.
And it came at the recommendation of a friend of mine who like had watched an episode or two and was like, "Hey, I think you would really enjoy this." And so
thanks that friend, because the rest of us would not have seen it,
and we would not be here.
Exactly.
This would not be happening.
It would not be. But so like getting into accepting that like, oh, maybe all of this weird stuff is all connected and is maybe all the same thing.
Right.
Or is something. There's something more here.
It's part of a larger whole rather than being individual sporadic things.
Right. Really led me to having this really like positive like open mindset.
Yeah.
To like thinking about the paranormal, the phenomena, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it got me into Kindred Spirits, and I started watching Kindred Spirits a whole lot.
I need to watch Kindred Spirits.
I love Kindred Spirit. I love Adam and Amy and Chip Coffey. They're angels. I love them. And then Hellier also led me to Spirits of the Stanley, which got me into Estes Method and like using spirit boxes and like being more curious as to like different ways to do investigation and like thinking about things more abstractly. To the point where for my 21st birthday, in the middle of COVID.
Right. You guys went to the Stanley.
We went to the Stanley. My family took me to the Stanley Hotel, and we stayed in room 213, which is like the Shining room that Stephen King stayed in. And like all.
Which is also hard to get into. Good job.
It's not easy. And I got it on my birthday, which was crazy.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I remember you sending us like Snapchats and stuff.
Yeah, we got up to all sorts of shenaniganry. We did almost get kicked out.
That
because
is
of
an anecdote for another time.
That sure is. But I promise, folks at the Stanley, we're not going to do that again. I'm sorry.
That's so funny.
It was so funny, though. Okay. But, yeah, like I've had multiple experiences since then. Like, I talked earlier that Kristen's ghost, Sean, has hung out with me.
Right.
He showed me the way he died in a dream. And then I went to Kristen the following day and was like, you need to tell me more about that ghost right now.
Tell me more about Sean this minute.
Tell me more about fucking Sean right now. Because I was like, Kristen, something really weird happened last night. And I was like, don't tell me how he died. Let me tell you how he died. And then you confirm or deny. And she was like, that was scary.
She goes,
But yeah. That's kind of an overview of my journey.
Now we're friends.
Now we're friends.
And we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, we're doing a podcast.
We're doing a podcast.
Wow.
And the podcast came about because I was on Spotify desperately trying to find a podcast that covered cryptids in a way that was like just a cryptid podcast.
Yeah.
That covered cryptids in a way that I found interesting. And I cannot listen to a podcast that's just one person talking. They make me sleepy. And so I couldn't find one. And then I texted my friends and I went, do you guys want to do a podcast with me?
And then Sarah like texted us and was like, hey, I'd like to do this. And I went, great, let's do it. And then we sat on it for 1.5 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now we're doing it.
But we're doing
it.
I'm so excited.
We're doing such a great job.
I'm so excited to go on this spooky journey with y'all.
And it just means we get to be, we had some other stuff that happened that prevented us from rolling as fast as we wanted to.
Here we are.
But we're here. We're here.
And I will say, you are the 4th message of, we should do a podcast, that I've ever sent. And this is the only podcast I have.
Yeah.
So get to get together and be like, hello, I have done the research on this info dump. Would you like to hear it? And you have to listen.
Yeah.
And I think, like, even if we're not super famous or we don't make a ton of money, the fact that I'm getting to do this with, y'all as my best friends, is the best journey I could ask for.
It's structured best friend time.
So anyway, I think that's probably everything that you need to know about our origin stories.
I think so.
We're so excited to see what we come up with for next week.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for listening.
This podcast is for weirdos.
Are you a weirdo?
Thursdays are for the phenomena.